Thanks for joining us here for this digital extra as we continue our conversation here about mental competency and a new law going into effect on November 1st. My three guests here today: State Senator Paul Racino of Oklahoma City, State Representative Mark Lawson of Sapulpa, the House Majority Leader, and also with us, Jason Musgrove, Public Policy Coordinator for NAMI Oklahoma. Gentlemen, thanks so much. Talking about the killing of Deputy Bobby Schwartz, your constituent senator, and the case of Benjamin Plank, who basically the state lost out on the chance to prosecute him because his 2-year clock ran out to restore competency. As you wanted to point out, it's not like he's on the street right now. He is still under care.
Yeah, he's civilly committed right now, so he is getting care to try to restore competency. And when the judge dismissed it, he dismissed it without prejudice, which means that if he does become competent, we get restoration back. That if he is released, I believe he will immediately be rearrested again and charged.
Can I just ask you a little bit more about the hardship that this has had on Deputy Schwartz's family?
Yeah,
because this has been very difficult for them, obviously.
It's awful to watch, right? I mean, again, justice hasn't been given to them, and they watched their dad brutally shot and murdered for serving a warrant for eviction, and then the state fails to get their accuser. They fail to get him competent, and it's disastrous for a family to go through. And then they watched, as the judge says, the charges are dismissed. I mean, I think any of us that happened to any of our family members would feel pretty betrayed.
And obviously, being mindful of the other families involved in this, the family of Benjamin Plank, who has like many families in Oklahoma have somebody who is mentally ill that they love and care for, and we're trying to find as a state ways to take care of these people and being humane but also just, and finding the balance in there. The state mental health department has had a tough go of late. Fiscal challenges, leadership changes, some severe delays when it comes to getting people proper care. So, Representative, you've been there on the ground floor as you've been trying to work this out with them. How has that process gone?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's been a pretty rough year for the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. It's back in the spring that they first reported to the legislature a budget shortfall, and we spent
a big one.
Initially, it was $63 million. The House and the Senate came together to hold a series of hearings to better understand what are the actual needs of the department. And in that same time frame, the state entered into a consent decree agreement. So that really, I think, was the impetus for Senate Bill 1089 in the first place, specifically this 2-year window. If we've not restored competency, what do we do with the accused at 2 years? It was a very hard and fast date on the calendar.
Right.
We're still trying to work through all of that. I'm certainly proud of the folks at the department who are doing what we've asked them to do. There's still going to be some uncertainty as they continue to get some internal budget controls in place. But again, meeting people where they are in mental health crisis, whether they're in the justice system, whether they're just in the public and they need service. Right. That remains a top priority to the House and the Senate, but specifically to Senate Bill 1089 and the consent decree that we've entered into. We felt like Senate Bill 1089 is helping to address all of those things. We're giving people the treatment they need, we're serving the interests of justice, and we just continue to move forward so that we're treating people appropriately up front, and we're not getting anywhere close to that 2-year mark in the future.
And that consent decree, Senator, basically this is an agreement that the state had to enter into that was led by, it was a legal ruling, correct? With the judge that said, you haven't been doing your job, you have to start doing your job this way.
Yes, and so it was agreed upon between the Attorney General, the Governor, and the former Commissioner.
Okay.
And so then they came to the legislature and said, hey, we have all agreed to this, now the legislature has to approve it. And then I presented it on the Senate floor, it passed, it went over to the House. I don't remember if it was you or not that presented it, but then it passed over there. So it is law, it is what we have to do, and we're gonna have to abide by it. And currently we're not doing very well. It looks like we're gonna have some penalties coming up, that we haven't met some measures yet. And so I think that the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse is really going to have to dig their heels in and get moving on this pretty quickly, or it's going to cost the state lots of money.
When you say we're not doing very well, what's the biggest struggle right now?
Some of it was a delay. I think that the former commissioner really didn't do a whole lot to get it started, and so now we have an interim commissioner in there, and he's trying to dig in, and we just
While
haven't
doing all these other things at the same
That's
time,
correct.
right?
Yeah, that's correct. But it doesn't matter. Here's the problem: we have entered into it. We have to abide by it, and if we don't, it's going to cost the taxpayers of Oklahoma a lot of money.
When you talk about penalties, what sort of penalties?
Fines
are
and
there?
fees for not meeting certain measures, and we already know that we could be in the millions of dollars pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. And so one of the biggest things, and Jason, I know talking to you earlier about some of the fines and fees that the state's been hit with already because of these delays. Is that what you were speaking about? The
Right.
millions of
That was a conversation that I had yesterday with Representative Lawson, where we were talking about some of the problems that the state is having to face regarding the consent decree violations, and it's certainly not been as successful as we would hope.
So obviously the state lawmakers, they have their frustrations with the state mental health department. From the advocacy side, from the public policy side, from NAMI's point of view, what has your frustrations been with that department? Are they similar?
The frustrations that we've had have just been a matter of there's been a lack of resources. We have had, and a lot of our partner agencies across the state are nonprofits like Red Rock, like Mental Health Association, and lots of community behavioral clinics have lost funding.
Sure.
We ourselves have lost quite a big contract, and we provide services to families. And providing those services to the families so that they have a better infrastructure to help someone either going through the competency restoration process or being released from these charges or being released from jail, making sure that they have the system of care underneath them so that we don't have to have more people go through the system and sit in jail awaiting their competency restoration periods to start or stand trial when they are not competent. And it creates a very tough problem for us to take care of these people's families. It makes it harder for the families to take care of their loved one, and it makes it harder for the state to operate as it should.
Right. I mean, resources are always an issue, and I know that you guys have plenty of mouths to feed in the legislature. And we talked about the department being, tens of millions of dollars underwater at one point, could barely get through half the year with the budget that they had. So is there enough money, you think, going towards this department?
So I would say this. Last year, at the end of session, you saw what we did. The legislature, I think for the first time in Oklahoma history, relieved a commissioner of their duty because we didn't feel like we could go into the interim and go another 8 or 9 months in the trajectory we were on. That was one thing we did. The second thing we did is we call what we call the Mother May I bill that we put in effect that says, hey, the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse can't spend more money than they have budgeted. So they had to send all their budgets to OMES to make sure they were balanced and then get permission to spend money because we didn't know who the interim director was going to be. And we still don't know because I don't believe Admiral Sylvanica is going to stay very long. I think he's interim and does not want to be confirmed. And so these guardrails were put in place to protect taxpayer money. At the same time, while they're trying to fix all this, we are trying to ensure that people who need mental health services are getting the services they need. And so there's going to be pain involved in this. There is going to be some issues, but we have to work through them to get them on stable ground.
What I'm hearing is that this is one of the biggest jobs in front of you guys right now.
Absolutely.
This is a real challenge in front of the
Absolutely.
state.
Well, and I would say to that is, funding mental health services in the Department of Mental Health remains a priority of the legislature for sure. Because we know, let's just take the case we've been talking about, the Swartz case. If a crime happens or crisis happens, Now you've got the justice system involved. A lot of times the accused are appointed an attorney. This is all stuff that the taxpayers pay for as well. Competency restoration, that's further care, that's on the state's dime. So it's the right thing to do, number one, but it's also on the taxpayers' behalf that we're addressing problems early in mental health, that we're addressing them adequately, keeping people from entering crisis, keeping crimes from being committed, and that's all part of this journey, but that remains a priority of the state legislature.
Senator, Representative Jason, thanks very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.